Okay, we're on. Hello everybody, hello chess fans. Welcome to another edition of the opening and the middle game. We're going to talk today about the Pirc Defense, and we're going to talk in the middle game about the critical zone. Now the Pirc Defense was one of my favorite defenses when I was expert and a master, and many of you like to play it too. The Pirc Defense is not that popular. You rarely see it played by the top players these days, but the audience I have today is pretty strong. We got Paul Cornelius, we got Dana, we got Mike Spillane, we got Mike Arnay, we got Barry
Marshall.
We got Marshall. So we have a very strong group that I'm talking to today. Anyway, today's featured game. How many of you remember Vinay Bhatt?
Yes.
Everybody remembers Vinay. About 10 years ago, this kid was reaching for the top. He was a grandmaster, and he decided at the height of his powers to just quit. And that happens a lot with American players, go get that job, go get that career. And anyway, this game was played in 1995 here in San Mateo. Vinay had white against me, I had black, and I played the Pirc Defense. The Pirc usually arises from d6, d4, knight f6. But here, look at how I entered the Pirc. I played g6, which is a little bit different. So d4, bishop g7. Now, can anybody tell me why black would choose this move order instead of the d6 stuff? Anybody?
Possibly he's trying to keep the long diagonal open.
Yeah, because you have possibilities of shooting c5 from the side, whereas if you play d6, knight f6, you're really quite limited there. So Vinay played knight c3 against me. And at this time, he was probably about 11 years old, a very nice, innocent kid, rated 2139 at the time, while I was already a senior master. But anyway, let's kind of continue on with this game here. Now already I'm throwing a little bit of curveball at Vinay. c6 is not all that normal. Normally you play d6 or, followed by knight f6. So what I'm trying to do is kind of get him out of book a little bit. This is a common strategy, at the master level and even at the expert level and down to the A level. So now he chooses one of the f3 systems where you go queen d2 and then castle queenside. Now I could play d5 here, and then he plays e5, but this is kind of interesting. Now what would some of you people play here for white? Any ideas here?
F3.
F3, yeah, it's another good plan here.
How about F4?
F4 is very aggressive. Mr. Spillane, do you have any ideas of what you would play with white here?
Queen d2, maybe.
Okay, very consistent, When you have a fianchetto, this bishop exerts big power here, and you want to try to get bishop h6 in there whenever you can.
Yeah, kind of.
I would seriously consider h4.
h4, it looks like a kind of a coffee house move, but there's a lot of strong players that play h4, like Cameron Shirazi. This was a favorite. Whenever you play g6, he'd play h4 right away. And no, it's not a coffee house move. In fact, it's a favorite move of mine. So anyway, so a lot of you are consistent that you want to get that sort of Yugoslav attack thing going, and it's very similar to the Yugoslav attack of the Dragon, where you're playing the same setup. But here we have a Pirc. So the question is whether you should play a4 to stop the queenside stuff. So I kind of played queen c7, which is kind of a waiting move. So I'm really delaying the development of my knight for quite a while here. Okay, so f3. I think I kind of like f4. The more I look at it, it's just much more aggressive, you know. So now I decided to expand on the queen side. Now, if white intends to castle king side, it's probably better to prevent this expansion with a4, you know, because, you know, black can get some good activity going. And then the idea is to play b4 at some point and misplace white's pieces. I don't know about castles here. This is what Vinay played. How many of you like castles here?
No.
Castling into it.
Castling right into my attack, you know. So, you see right now the center is a little bit closed, so it's not easy to get to my king, you know. So sometimes the principle that we're going to learn today is that when the center is kind of closed, you can just attack on the wing, attack on the side of the board. h4, b5, a5. Just get it all going down right to the king here. So, you know, we're kind of not in a real bona fide Pirc. We're kind of more in a modern, you know. The modern defense is another name, really another name for the Pirc, you know. But here I'm really, you know, delaying the development of the knight. So I decide, okay, this is where you live. I'm going to attack. So b4 is good. And now the knight really doesn't have a good, doesn't have a really good square. You know, this is kind of pathetic. So he goes here. And now this pawn's hanging, so I made a very interesting decision here. And as I decided, okay, you want it, you can have it. So I'm really offering Vinay Bhatt a free pawn. But he decides not to grab it. So he just moves over, king b1.
My terminology for that would be losing a pawn but gaining a rook.
What was that again,
Losing
Mike?
a pawn but gaining a rook. He gets that open file for his rook in
Right.
exchange for the pawn. And
I figured that, you know, if he tried to grab that pawn, I'm going to have an open file and I'm going to try to go get his king now. So he decides wisely, hey, I'm not going to grab that pawn. So here you're kind of wondering, how come I'm not developing any pieces here? You know, what's the point of that move? What is the point of h5 here? Well, see, I really do want to develop the knight, but I don't want to allow him to get my excellent dragon bishop. This is a 4 or 5 point piece right here. And see now, we're also going to be discussing, you know, many middle game concepts, and one of them is the critical zone. You know, all the books talk about develop your pieces toward the center, right? But I think I have a little bit of a better way to put that. Develop your pieces toward the critical area of the board. Now this applies move 1, move 50. You always develop your pieces to where the action is. And it's right here. I'm creating a critical zone by attacking on the wing. I'm creating a critical zone. So even though he would love to attack my king, he doesn't have time because my attack comes down very quickly. Okay, so white continues developing, but notice that his pieces are extremely awkward. Look at these pieces. They're so awkward.
I know as a rule of thumb that in this kind of positions,
Uh-huh.
when black plays knight d7, develop the knight on h3 and bring it back onto f2.
Yeah, this is a good maneuver because now look, you have interference here.
Yeah, exactly.
White's pieces are interfering with each other, and I'm just going to continue my attack, you know. And I think Vinay probably realized after this game that, you know, you're castling too soon, because now I know where you live.
Mm-hmm.
And now I figured, well, it's time to finally develop something. And you're probably wondering, well, how come I'm not anxious to castle? Well, he's, you know, breaking open g4 very quickly, so I'm not in any hurry to castle here. My king is actually safer in the middle, perhaps. This is really slow, but his pieces are so tangled up that he's going to end up, you know, wasting time, you know. Notice that the knight is kind of blocking the bishop here.
Shouldn't white try to open the center with e5? I know it gives a pawn, but it seems like the position
Yeah, I
wants
would
it.
say that that is absolutely not a bad idea to do. To try to get to my king, you know, with e5 or something like that. But we're giving up a pawn. Right? So anyway, I decided to just keep my attack going. And notice that what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to develop more scope for the bishop on g7 all the way down there. And this helps to develop that bishop. See, what I would really like is to eliminate this bishop. This is a key piece in many king pawn openings, the dark-squared bishop. And I want to always find a way to get rid of that thing, because then this thing is going to become a monster. Okay, so bishop g2, and now I'm just going to continue my attack here. And now I might be threatening c3 or something. So he's got to stop c3. And now I see that there's going to be a nice file opening up right to white's king. Boom, right. This is the good placement of the rook here. Now look, this is pretty sad. Look, he's all he's doing is moving, you know, his pawns. He's not really doing much, you know. So this is a recipe for defeat when all you can do is kind of have a really weak fianchetto and then start, you know, moving your pawns like this.
Yeah. None of his pieces are pointing to the critical zone.
Right. We've created a critical zone here, and he has trouble bringing his pieces to the defense of the critical zone. So I just keep on attacking. And of course, white is free if he wants to grab that, you know, poison pawn there anytime you want, you know. So anyway, the other rule that we're going to discuss today in the middle game is to play on the strong side of the board. You don't want to play on the side the other guy's attacking. He wants to attack over here, right? So I'm just concentrating my attack over here. Now, how do you attack? See, when you're attacking a certain zone, you don't spread out your attack like a blanket where, you know, you've got this one covered, this one covered, this one covered. No, you key in on certain key squares. B2 and C3 are the key squares. And I'm just going to completely concentrate my attack there. A lot of people are spreading out their attack. That's not a recipe for a successful attack. So anyway, he plays here, and I was trying to get the bishop here, but my attack comes very quickly here. Now I've already got serious threats. I'm threatening, you know, like pawn takes pawn, and already white is under big problems. So this is forced. But now the problem is, here's my chance to finally get this bishop. Okay, pawn takes pawn, and now the beauty of pawn takes pawn is you only have one way to take, because if you take with the knight, I'm coming in here. So you have to take here, and now I've gotten exactly what I want. Give me that. This is a 4 or 5 point piece. It's extremely valuable, right? And now look what white is stuck with. Look at that ugly thing. And look at how powerful this thing is. So white did not last that much longer. Now it's safe for me to castle. There's no dark squared bishop. Now he tries to bolster, he's trying to bolster up that, but already I practically have a winning game because I have a clear plan. I'm just going to keep attacking. Now this is a monster, so the attack is going to proceed along the dark squares. Okay, now I unleash the beast. Now I see the knights heading for d3 here, and it's already lost for white here. But young Vinay was this is a good learning experience for that little kid here. So now I just drop in to where I was supposed to go. Now this just kind of hastens defeat because he doesn't see what I'm up to. Boom! Now I'm not going to be giving up a pawn, but I have a little surprise for Vinay. Like bishop d4. Surprise! And now he says, oh great, I can win a pawn. But it's completely poisoned. Poisoned pawn. Because I drop back and now he realizes he can't move the bishop away because I'm going to take the knight. But he can play here. Now, do you guys see anything good for black here?
Well, I see a big potential pin on the B file.
Okay.
And so I might want to just trade on C3 until his pawn is forced to capture, and then I can play A4.
Mm-hmm.
It seems a4 right away looks like it is working too.
You might even consider
Yeah.
simply capturing this and then winning a piece, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But I decided here to just
Go for the gusto.
go with the best down. Yeah. Bing. Now he's just completely overloaded in this critical area, critical zone, and it's busted now. So knight a4. Problem with knight a4, you lose a queen now, because I simply take. Got to take back. And now with b2, and it's pretty much duck soup at this point. Queen b2, there's b2, king b2. And now, how would I finish him off here?